always wanted to get back up to the historic Lutheran church near Helix, Oregon, to photograph in weather like this. But when I got there today, the weather was like this, which is the way it normally is. So it was time for Plan B. All right, Plan B. So I was headed up to the to Helix, Oregon, up where the Finnish Lutheran Church is, and I've been there quite a few times before because I wanted to see what it looked like when it was raining and when there was low clouds everywhere. You can see from some of the video, the low clouds dissipated. That always happens, or usually happens, over when you get to the other side of the Blue Mountains headed west. It can be raining like hell in the Grand Ronde Valley. You get over the pass, down Cabbage Hill, into Pendleton, and it clears up. I'm not quite sure how they do all that dry farming out there, but anyway, so I am in a beautiful wooded forest. And this is near La Grande, and this is an interesting place. This, believe it or not, as pretty as it is the range where Paul Harrell shot most of his videos. And if you don't know who Paul Harrell is, I won't mention what kind of videos he did, but obviously this is a range. And so you can kind of guess. I don't want to get in trouble with YouTube is the thing. Paul, I knew Paul. He actually taught a class that I attended for my Utah permit. And we were acquaintances. I can't say we were friends. We weren't enemies. But Paul was an interesting guy. And you talk about the weirdness of life. Paul, I think his channel at the time of his passing, believe it or not, had 1.7 million subscribers. And he shot most of his videos right here. And he was chugging along and ended up with, I think, pancreatic cancer. And he was gone in 6 months. 58 years old, I believe. But like I said, Paul was an interesting guy. And I'm sure you'll recognize this area. But anyway, so I switched in January. I'm going to switch lenses real quick here. This is the 35 f2.8 Zeiss. Love the way it renders. Love the way these Zeiss lenses behave on the Sony cameras. Switching it out for the 55 1.8, which is that lens there. So in January, I had the Fuji X-H2 and X-T5 and a bunch of lenses, and I decided that I would finally make the switch to the Sony A7RV and A7C2. And this is my prime lens kit. And in my prime lens kit, I have the 35mm f2.8 Zeiss lens. Love the way that lens renders. And love the size and the weight of it. And then I have the 55 1.8. I have the Tamron 20mm 2.8 for wide angle, and then the Sony G 85 1.8. And I have a camera strap and a high-powered cheaters, a couple extra batteries, and my video camera is the DJI Action 5 Pro. Some filters and things like that. That's my kit for walking around and photographing and doing video. And it's the smallest kit I've ever had, other than my film Leica kit, and I really enjoy it. So what were the reasons why I moved over to Sony from Fuji? I had been with Fuji since 2013. Now I've tried a lot of other cameras as well. I've shot the Pentax K1 Mark II, really enjoyed that camera. And I've shot some Nikons, and they were okay. I mean, all these modern cameras are excellent, but I really enjoyed the Fujis. But the areas where the Fujis let me down were really, it was the quality control on the lenses. I had some, like, for example, take the 10-24 f4 lens, the WR. I have a copy of that lens that's excellent, but a lot of people don't like that lens. They say it's not good, and I'm talking about on the 40 megapixels. And I tried to shoot that 16-80 f4, which is rated for the 40 megapixel sensors. And you know, I just was really disappointed. Half the images on each side, only the center, and shooting square, it's not a big deal, but when I was down in Texas, photographing the swamps, the sides, I was shooting color, and I was shooting 2:3 aspect ratio, and the sides weren't sharp. And I tried another copy of the lens, and I got the same thing. So yeah, poor quality control on the Fuji lenses. I had a copy of the 35mm f2 that the aspheric element wasn't made correctly, and there was a band of unsharpness in it. So quality of the lenses was number one, and I should say quality control, because if you get a good Fuji lens, it's excellent. But you know, the other thing is I came up in digital photography right at the beginning, 2004, 2005. A full frame sensor was a big deal, and it was unaffordable at the time, for me anyway. And so I made do with APS-C sensors, and I pushed them right to their limits. And for me, the limit on an APS-C sensor was about a 16:20. And so I was selective sharpening, playing all kinds of games with the 10 and 12 megapixel Nikon D200, D300, because at that time a full frame sensor was expensive. And so I got really used to the APS-C and what it looked like, and you know, all of that. And the full frame is smoother. APS-C has a brittleness to it. And this is my own personal subjective opinion, and I really like the smoothness that full frame gives me. That's an interesting shot right there. The light is fascinating. Huh. That was another reason, because I always felt that I could get a little bit more image quality. I always felt that I wanted a little bit more image quality. Did I need it? Probably not. But I will say this, with the full frame cameras, I have all the image quality I want, and I'm never disappointed. And I never say, oh, I wish I had more image quality, or I never wonder if it could be better with, if I had more image quality, if I had a full frame sensor. And it seems that every time I go out with the Sony A7RV, I always come back with a portfolio level image, and I'm not sure why that is. I enjoy shooting the camera. And again, you know, as you can see, I crop square. The 60 megapixels ends up at 40 megapixels, which is still way more than I need. But it allows me to crop also if I want to crop in even more, which is a nice handy thing to do. But really, the bottom line is the 60 megapixel APS-C sensor gives me sharpness. That's a big bird. I didn't really catch what it was. I don't know if you saw that. It was over there. But the APS-C sensor gives me sharpness with smoothness. And that's a lovely thing. I mean, even if I put a lot of grain in the shot, I still end up with you know, as long as it's sharp underneath, when you put the grain on top, it still gives you the grain plus the sharpness. That's not a softness thing. So that was my main reasons for switching from Fuji to Sony. And also I finally had the money, which made the difference, because for a long time I was kind of shooting Fuji just because I didn't have the money for full frame for the Sonys, but there it is. So hopefully you found that interesting, and you found this little tour of the range that Paul Harrell used to make all his videos at. If he was still around, I would ask him to give my channel a mention, because with 1.7 million subscribers, I bet you I'd pick up 10,000 subscribers with him just mentioning it once, which was fascinating. I mean, he sat right, I remember I've seen a bunch of videos where he was sitting right at this bench, right there. Interesting, life is so weird. Guy was cranking along, and 6 months later he's gone. And the range is still here, and he's gone, and oh well, that's life. That's the way it goes. You got to make the best of every day and enjoy what you can. So, I mean, I enjoy the range, and I like coming out here and testing things, but I've always thought it to be very photogenic as well. And I enjoy photographing out here too. So anyway, hope you enjoyed that tour, and my reasonings for switching to the Sonys. And don't get me wrong, I mean, I enjoyed the Fujis a lot. I think they're great cameras. They're capable of great results. It's just with the Sonys, everything just seems much easier. You know, the Fujis, I was always kind of fighting the Fujis. Look at the lights off that tree right there. I wonder what it's like without the light on it. And you know, with the Sonys, it's just so much easier to get where I want to be. And with the Fujis, I was, you know, it was always kind of a fight or a struggle, or, you know, just a lot of times I'd take shots and they just didn't reach the level I wanted them to reach to. And so that was it. And, you know, and the autofocus, you know, now I could also mention the video. The Sony video is much, the autofocus in video, the tracking, the eye tracking is much better than Fuji's, but I don't really do that style of video anymore. So it's kind of a moot point at this point. But you never know. So anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.